Hello, I'm Dr. Dale Caldwell. I would like to welcome you to Entrepreneur State of Mind, and I have a friend and a wonderful guest, Mark Iorio, the Managing Director of BCAT Partners. Mark, welcome.
Thank you, Dale. Great to be here.
Well, it's an honor to have you. This is a wonderful new show that I love. And so tell me a little bit about your background. Where'd you grow up, and how did you become an entrepreneur?
Oh, wow. Gee whiz. Thanks for that. And first of all, I appreciate being on the show. I really do. And I'm your first guest.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you. This is going to be a big show.
So I grew up in Ewing Township outside of Trenton, and graduated from Ewing High School 1975. Watched my dad work for rubber company, Acme Hamilton Rubber Company in Trenton, New Jersey, and always looked at different things about being in business, running a business.
Right.
And went to Trenton State College, played baseball there, coached baseball there, and was always busy, Dale. I had jobs from the time I started, being able to work at 9 years old until, through college. I probably worked in 17 or 18 places before I graduated from college.
Love it.
And, as a coach, as a baseball coach, I really love seeing kids develop, and they were only a couple years younger than I was. Graduated from there in '79, and then I went to work for a company called Circle F Industries, which is an electrical equipment company in Trenton. Been there for years, and within 3 months they were bought out by Sylvania, GTE Sylvania.
Right.
So I really fell into something big, and I thought it was a great opportunity for me. I got promoted a bunch of times, and I ended up in procurement. And just started having folks call on me, and this one fella called on me, and I really took a shine to him. I really liked Earl, and he was a college baseball player, played for the Cubs, and he and I really just hit it off, and he was working for a printing company. So he kept recruiting me and trying to coerce me to leave Circle F or GTE at the time, and I said, I can't do that. I really feel comfortable here.
Right.
And I was continuing to get promoted, and they really wanted to move me into a leadership position. But anyway, I took a leap. 1983, I left there, went to work for this company in Bensalem, out northeast Philadelphia.
Okay.
Selling printing and marketing materials and stuff like that, and I quickly became the number 2 salesperson in the company. And fast forward, 1987, we were number 1 and number 2 in sales out of 15 people. And Earl walked into my office and said, "Hey, they just fired the 3 guys that are working for you." Why? I'm not sure. And he said, "I'm leaving." So he'd been there for 10 years, and I was there for 5, and I said, "Where are you going?" And he said, "I'm going to start my own business." So we left, and we formed a company called M&E Graphics Associates, which is Mega, right? The Mega Group. And in 1987, I formed the Mega Group, and have been working that business for the better part of 34 years, and I've been an entrepreneur ever since.
Well, see, that's a wonderful story. I'm a big believer, and I'm a big tennis guy or a big baseball.
Yep.
That sports really helps to spur the entrepreneurial spirit.
It does.
And one of the things I always say is that you learn how to lose in sports.
Yeah.
And I can almost tell people that never played sports because they can't handle losing. You have to learn how to lose, and that is a key measure of entrepreneurship. I got my MBA at Wharton, and when we graduated, they gave us a book called How to Lose $100 Million. And it was really all about taking chances and that you learn from mistakes.
Yeah.
So talking about that, what for the young entrepreneurs out there, what advice, what do you know now that you wish you knew when you were first getting into the business?
That's a great question, Dale. Some of the things that you learn is, we took the business up to 85 people. We had, it was a very successful business for a long time. One of the things that I really learned to do is, in my world, I believe in God, right? So I think that God gave us the ability to have a set of antennae to be able to use our instinct, our intuition.
Right.
And what was happening here in this business was that I had these little pods, these cliques in a sense, of people that were on my team and people that were not on my team. They were rowing in another direction, and we were trying to row in one direction. And it turned out that these people, there was bad actors there, try to torpedo our business. One of the things I would say to a young entrepreneur is trust your gut, trust your instinct, trust what God has given you in terms of, who you are as a person. I'm not saying mistrust people, because you have to have a level of trust in people so that you can bring them into your organization and inculcate them into the culture of your organization. But those who are not invested in your business, make sure you ferret them out as quickly as possible. And there are telltale signs, Dale, for you to look at to make sure that those people are either on your team or not.
Well, one of the things, and we're going to get into BCAT, but one of the things that is really, really interesting is that people think, well, you're in business, you're a finance person. You have to know finance. You have to know, and you do have to know finance. But really, the good entrepreneurs are people. They understand people. As you said, they know who's on their team, who's not on their team. And that's a skill that people learn over time from being burned by other people and so on. So I want to get into BCAT. So I'm sure that experience said, this human resource thing is really, really important. So how did you get into it? What is BCAT?
BCAT is Brand Culture Alignment Toolkit. Thanks for asking about that. I had been in business for about a dozen years, and we had a client come to us, and I was really into psychology when I was younger, Dale. I thought I was going to be a psychology major, and then migrated into marketing. Marketing is psychology. You talk about emotional intelligence. I think I have a very, very high EQ. So I'm able to see into people. I get along with people. I love people. And I think the feeling is mutual. But in this case, this large organization, AAA Mid-Atlantic, called us into their company, and they said, listen, we have an internal brand problem. In other words, our culture and our brand are not aligning. They're not, we're making a promise, but we're not delivering on that promise. Can you come in here and help us fix that? And we did a ton of research on understanding what that meant. The psychology of the companies that did it right, Tiffany and Southwest Airlines and Ritz-Carlton and at the time Motorola. So we'd go to these conferences and we'd spend a lot of money on understanding the psychology of how you get a culture and a brand to align, or the internal brand and the external brand to speak the same language. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with it. And so for the last 20 years, I've been doing nothing, well, I shouldn't say nothing, but I've really focused heavily on the idea of aligning a company's brand and culture. About 8 years ago, I met my partner, Al Cini, who was developing this behavioral assessment, it's a survey really, instrument, to really short circuit what I was doing. I was going around and interviewing folks in the organization and asking them about their brand and their culture, and 3 or 4 questions. I gather all those data points together and use several linguistic experts in our organization to find the common threads of what people were saying. Right? And this was taking forever, and it was very, very subjective. What did Dale mean by what he said? What did Jackie mean by what she said? Etc. And it was very hard to do. Enter Al into the picture, and it's a very cognitive driven, behaviorally driven survey.
I mean, it really is, and I've looked at it, as you know, and it's phenomenal at what it does.
Thank you.
But I think sometimes people really don't understand how important it is, one, to know your brand, but also to align your people with your brand. Everyone thinks externally. They think the brand is all about selling to other people, all about getting more product out there. But it won't work if you don't have people aligned. Say a little more about that.
Yeah. So one of the first questions we ask is, are your people rowing in the same direction? Are they singing from the same sheet of music? It's not important. It's not just important for them to sing from the same sheet of music or row in the same direction. They have to row in the right direction. They have to all be in that boat, and every oar is important, right? Every song, every person in the choir is important when you're singing from the same sheet of music. But more importantly, when you do that,
are you singing songs that people want to hear?
Right.
Are they willing to pay for that? Meaning, when I get everyone in the organization to say, I'm really behind the purpose of the company. I feel as though it's here. It's in my soul. It's in my mind every day.
Right.
And I feel a part of a larger organization. That gets people to feel more engaged in the work they do, more productive with the things that they do every day, breaking down silos, breaking down those areas of passive-aggressive behavior, where all there is, I don't want to collaborate with so-and-so because it's my project, and I want everyone else to look at. BCAT breaks it all down because it's really about looking at the North Star in the organization and all going in that direction. And that's really the key. It's not just brand and culture aligned. People say, oh, that's really nice. It's kind of a soft skill. No, it's not. Not at all. When you get your people to work together, to get everyone included in the organization, that level of inclusivity, not just meaning, oh, gee, we have a group of folks here. We need to listen to every single person and heed their advice. And if it works, we employ it. That's what it's all about.
Well, see, and one of the things is, I wrote this book called Intelligent Influence, and one of the realities of this is that we're all products of our influence. I always use the example of music, that our musical tastes are developed between ages 14 and 25.
Yep.
And so much of our philosophies, and so what you're doing is really uncovering the different influences, and people's influences can change to work together.
Yeah.
So what are some of the challenges that you've seen? You folks have done, you and Al have done this in a lot of different places. What are some of the commonalities? So if I'm running a business, what are some of the things I should look for as I'm looking at thinking about engaging BCAT?
Another great question. I mean, if you see that your organization doesn't really have a culture and you're trying to, build a culture through perks. Let's say we do pizza Fridays or put ping pong tables into the lunchroom, or that's not culture.
Right.
That's not purpose.
Right.
That's perks.
Right.
Right. But people will leave as a result of that. We see that a lot. We see that people are trying to mask the lack of culture in an organization with perks.
Interesting. Well, let me hold you there because we're going to break because this is a really important point. We're going to break for a commercial and come right back. So, Entrepreneur State of Mind, enjoy the commercials.
Boardwalks built for fun. Legendary rock and roll clubs.
This is how we do it. Hip hip hop.
Casinos by the ocean.
Hip hip hop.
Now that's New Jersey. 130 miles of beautiful beaches. Solid rock. And everything in between.
Look in the window.
Now that's New Jersey. Plan your New Jersey trip at visitnj.org. Waves of fun. Nights of excitement. And a trail of memories. Now that's New Jersey.
Welcome back to Entrepreneurial State of Mind. I'm Dr. Dale Caldwell with Mark Iorio from BCAT Partners, and we're just before the break, we were starting to talk about some of the Band-Aids that people put on to really, pizza every Friday and ping pong tables. That's not real culture. So talk a little more about that.
Yeah, it's. I learned this lesson the hard way, Dale. I didn't really know everyone in the organization, and what I mean by that.
And a lot of CEOs are exactly the same way. They think they know what's going on. They have no clue.
You're right. And so, the whole idea of culture is to get look, we're not asking anyone in the organization to change who they are.
Right.
It's like I've said before, in baseball, you've got a second baseman, you have a shortstop. They have different skill sets, but they complement each other. And as they get better, imagine this, draw this analogy to a business.
Right.
Everyone's got a different skill set.
Yeah.
You bring that skill set to the table, but you collectively make your team better. If the coach, manager, CEO, understands the skill set of each player, of each employee, then they know where to put them. They know what skill set to use and how to best get that skill set out of them so that they can become the best they can possibly be. And that's what you want them to do. You want them to improve every single day to become a better version of themselves every day so that the team becomes a better version of itself every day.
Well, see, and I love the sports analogies. I actually was on Ralph, the NBA legend, Ralph Sampson has a radio show, a podcast. I was on that last week, and we were talking about, I'm not a big Tampa Bay fan, but we were talking about Tampa Bay. And how Tampa Bay had all these old guys. And I'm getting to be an old guy, so I rooted for the old guys. And many of them, everybody thought was washed up. But this is the analogy of the BCAT. They brought the team together.
They did.
And whatever chemistry, Brady's arm isn't what it used to be, but clearly they said he mentored the young kids, and so you could see so that is what a well-functioning team. People thought they'd have no shot of winning the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
And how they came together, and that makes it very clear what you're doing.
Yeah, and we use that a lot. We use that analogy a lot. I talk about the Patriots, I talk about the Yankees, and whether you like that team or not, they have a tradition of a culture of winning, right? And it's not about, look, for the Yankees specifically, if you look at their uniform, they have an interlocking NY, pinstripes, and the grays when they go away.
Right.
Turn the player around. No one has a name on the back of the jersey.
Right.
Why? Because it's not the logo, folks. It's the organization.
Yeah, the
That's
culture.
what's important. And that's what people have to understand. Joe Torre was not the best field manager I've ever seen. Didn't like him, frankly. I'm a Yankee fan. But what he did, Dale, was he brought the team together. He brought a disparate group of stars together and made them a superstar team. If you mention Bernie Williams to a lot of people, center fielder, I love Bernie.
Right.
He wasn't a great player.
Right.
He was an above average player that became a great player on a great team.
The Yankees are actually, it's a contrast because the Yankees, the most famous baseball team in history, they don't have their names on the back. And the most famous players in history are from the Yankees, but they don't have their name on the back. And people don't understand how little that some of these mediocre teams, everybody's name, everybody's an individual and so on. And so that really is that's a great analogy. But then if you look at even, again, the Philadelphia Eagles in this area, when they won the Super Bowl, there was a bonding, I think religion was a real bond there.
It was.
And again, and don't walk off the set, but I was born in Boston, so I'm actually a Red Sox fan. And so we saw when the Red Sox came together. But it was interesting when the Red Sox had that split about who's going to the White House and who wasn't. Yeah. I knew their season was dead.
Yeah.
Because half the folks, wanted, were supportive of the president and half weren't.
Right.
They haven't been the same since.
Yeah, you're right.
And this stuff is really, really important.
And that's what that purpose and that North Star is all about. When you're actually, and that's what we're talking about when you get to know your players, you get to know the family that you're working with, the employees that are working for you. Once you get to know them and understand where they're coming from, then you can have conversations about why they feel the way they feel, and really understand where they're coming from, because oftentimes, Dale, people are dismissed for whatever reason, and we allow everyone in the organization to play a role in in how BCAT really drives the culture of the organization. No one's left out, whether you're mopping floors or you're in the C-suite, it doesn't matter. Every single person has a voice.
And I think, there is age discrimination out there. I know a lot of people over 50 that can't get a job even though they have great experience. And so I think if I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm looking at culture, sometimes, again, and I use the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, sometimes, because it wasn't just Brady, there were a number of old players that were washed up.
Yep.
And so maybe you need to change the culture, you bring an older person in who may cost a little more, but actually ends up making you a whole lot more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love the analogy of the Bucs. I was rooting for them too. I mean, I love Patrick Mahomes. I think the world of him and his leadership and his talent.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you look at a guy like Brady, man, and he's 43 years old, for God's sakes.
And Bruce Arians, the coach,
the
oldest coach in the history of winning a Super Bowl.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the important thing. Sometimes the older folks who really need a second chance, they're over 50 years old, they understand this.
Yeah.
And people ask us this all the time, Dale. Does it matter if it's a Gen Xer, or how do you talk to millennials, or how do you talk to baby boomers, or how do you talk to this group or that group? And I said the same way. They all need to be listened to. Right. Everyone needs to be listened to.
Right.
So once you start to understand that, you'll be better off as an entrepreneur.
Exactly, and they all have different influences. And so one of the things, and two, I want to talk about your shows. And one of the things I love about RV and TV is just the variety of shows they have, the personalities, and we're excited to be on Roku. So now you're doing a couple shows. Talk about the shows that you're doing.
Yeah, so I've been doing Rainmakers Roundup for 4.5 years. Rainmakers is about sales and marketing. I try to interview guests who are in a very competitive business that are doing something a little different or unique. And it was tongue-in-cheek comment, but I always said that I would stay away from, the typical insurance salesperson or the financial advisor. But frankly, have had some of the best shows with folks from industry and insurance and financial advisory. But that's what I'm looking for there. And it's a really good show. I have a lot of fun with it. And I've met a lot of amazing people, as you know. Yep. The other show is called Team Talk. Okay. And Team Talk is, I co-host that with Milton Corsi. Milton works for a company called Achieve Next, and he and I have partnered over the years with BCAT especially. It is about, we started out with diversity and inclusion as our topic, but it's become more of a cultural conversation, because a lot of times people don't understand what diversity is, what inclusion is. And so it really boils down to the culture of the organization, because culture is the soil that an organization grows from. And so if you have a good culture, good soil in the organization, the rest of what you do with regard to diversity and inclusion will be a lot easier to, to put into place.
Absolutely, and that makes a lot of sense. And I do a lot of DEI training and other things. And so one of the reasons that I'm really excited about Entrepreneur State of Mind is I'm working on a project that is really starting to get some legs. It's called Entrepreneur Zones.
Yeah.
And the state of New Jersey, we got in the legislature, and I'm chairing this working group. And the idea is to create these zones, especially in economically challenged areas, where they provide tax credits and other things to get entrepreneurship to grow. And then job training.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that maybe even BCAT could be part of that. And so right now we're talking in Atlanta and Philadelphia and Tulsa, Oklahoma, maybe Oakland, California, as well as 4 or 5 places in New Jersey, this idea of entrepreneur zones.
Yeah.
So to really kind of end poverty, because the way to end poverty is to support entrepreneurs.
Yes, absolutely.
And help them grow and create jobs in the community. So BCAT, let me ask you, what size businesses can take advantage of BCAT?
Doesn't matter, Dale. We've done work with 2-person companies all the way up to 10,000-person companies, and it really matters. What really matters is finding the organization's purpose.
Right.
What you are, who you are, what drives you when you're, like I like to say, when your feet hit the floor in the morning.
Right.
What is really driving you to do what you do every day? Where's that passion coming from? And once you understand that, and BCAT helps identify that. Because we asked this question. Imagine your organization as though it were a single person doing its best work on its best day.
Right.
What does that look like? And we use word associations in there. And what I meant earlier by saying it's cognitively driven is that if we do a PET scan of someone's frontal cortex, there are actually quadrants in your frontal cortex that light up when you use certain words. And so when you describe your organization, you fit into a certain category.
Right.
Unlike DISC, where you're looking at, or Myers-Briggs, where you're looking at individuals,
Right.
this is looking at the organization.
team.
So it doesn't matter how large the organization is or how small the organization is. It really matters as to what the purpose of the organization is. And so, yeah, we can help small businesses, nonprofits, large businesses, mid-sized companies, doesn't matter.
Wonderful, wonderful. We're at the end of time. These things always go so quickly. But Mark, it's just great to get to know you and
Been
BCAT
fantastic.
better.
Thank you.
And so please reach out online, look at BCAT, and it's something you should definitely take advantage of. So
Thank you.
So thanks for being my first official guest. We're going to have all sorts of celebrity guests over time. So take care. Thanks for watching Entrepreneur State of Mind, and we will see you next time.